Hi everybody, welcome to Law Hero. And what I'm going to do is take a step back from law as a discipline you can study and try and get to the bottom of what makes a law student number one in their class, or what makes a law student get high results, because it is something you're not taught. Because obviously if you are doing maths, it's all about getting answers right, or if you're doing medicine or pharmacy or any other discipline where there is a closed-ended answer, that's all fine. But in law, there is no right answer. There is only being less wrong than the next person. I did have the same questions that you would have, as in, is the best approach to get all the books and take notes, or find good notes and learn them, or don't go to class because I don't like the lecturer, or go to the tutor because I like the tutor but not the lecturer, or maybe just don't go to either. I went through all of this, and obviously then with the FE1s, that's a different exam, but you kind of have the same debate in your head, because you want your answer, you want a breadth of knowledge, but you don't have a lot of time. And rather than looking outside of yourself, as in, like, rather than looking for sources, I think it really has to be a different approach or a different way of thinking. And I'll explain myself. And this sort of came to me after years of doing internships, writing articles, writing essays. It kind of struck me that it's all connected. The second thing you need to realise is that statute has intervened, and that has made things a whole lot easier. So my first tip is to stop trying to limit the law. Let the law be that beast that it is, an uncontrollable beast. It's you who have to get organised in your own head, whilst at the same time fully integrating yourself in law. Another means of looking at law in a macro sense, and when I say macro, I mean like blue skies or broad approach, is because law is based on societal norms and morality and ethics. So all of these play into why laws are made. And that means that you need to take a step. So the mindset you need to adopt, I believe, can be distilled down to this two words: curious inquiry. And the reason I say this is because once you start to bring about a mindset of curious inquiry in your study, it becomes less monotonous and less of a chore. Bear in mind, you've chosen to study law, so you must have some curiosity about how society works and is regulated. And I'd encourage you to bring that across to your study of law. Okay, so you've adapted the mindset that you're going to look at a holistic approach to the law. What's the second step? Okay, well, I think the second step is to ask yourself, do I know the difference between common law and equity? And I'm not going to labour the point, because you know what I mean, but you have to be honest with yourself. Do you actually understand how the common law works? And the common law came from, it's obviously UK-based concept, and it came from the king. Not sure what king it was, you'll have to Google it, but basically there was the land was ruled by lords, and obviously the king can't watch everything, so the best thing to do was have local courts enforce the same law nationally to keep the peace, and that's what the king did, and that became the common law. And over time, the common law rules developed through precedent, or stare decisis. And then over time again, there came rules of interpretation and kind of rules of application. So there was the ratio decidendi, which was the reason the case was decided, and that became the important part of the judgment, whereas the Obiter Dicta, which is everything that was said around the reason why that case was decided as it was, that wasn't the important bit. The ratio decidendi was. That's why we have case law books and things which get to the root of it, but even then, some of those are pretty long. So then we read commentaries, and they are by far the quickest way to the law. So I'll give you an example. You're studying fiduciary duties, either under property law or under company law. Fiduciary duties come around, for example, with directors of a company. If there is property, for example, held on trust, Keech v Sandford, where a trustee was stopped from owning a lease, which was owned by, so he was the agent and he was stopped from owning a lease that was owned by his principal. So then you ask yourself, and I hope you do this, you ask yourself at home, okay, why would they try and stop an agent from owning a lease which used to be owned by his principal? And the reason is because were it not for that relationship, he would not have that knowledge. Basically, he took advantage of his position. His interests are conflicted because his primary duty as an agent is to his principal, not to himself, and not to profit from the position. The reason he's not to profit from the position, because then there would be unjust enrichment, and unjust enrichment is a principle of common law whereby you are unjustly enriched by means of your position. Unjust. That is the kernel of all of this. Okay, so that's all I'm going to leave you with today as like a taster of what's to come. And it might be a little bit thought-provoking, especially if you're studying at the moment, and it might like refresh the way you're approaching things, because I get lots of emails from people being like, hi Jen, I'm having trouble remembering cases, or like I'm having trouble remembering case names. And that's two different things. Remembering cases is simply telling yourself a story, whereas remembering case names, that comes down to like acronyms and means of remembering names. That is something that is not to do with the law. That's a different part. But to remember the law is to remember the stories that made up the common law over time. And that's something, if you're not remembering that, I believe you're not curious enough, because if you were curious enough, you'd remember it. For example, when you hear a catchy song on the radio and you're just like, that's because your brain is naturally curious and like wants to remember the beat because it likes it. It's, and if you're really having trouble remembering things, then I would ask you to question yourself. Do you actually like this? So the next day we're going to go more into the application. Today was more the like theoretical part one of like priming your brain to think like a lawyer, or think like the mindset you require to face these exams, to face these questions. And then in the next video I'm going to do part two. I'm going to look at like how practically to apply all of the nonsensey stuff I talked today. It's kind of nonsensey because it is pie in the sky stuff, but you still need to be able to think like that. How to actually drill down, and then we're going to suss how to get a first class honours, or basically get over 70%. Thank you very much for watching. I'm really enjoying this because I feel like I'm becoming a better lawyer by providing these videos. I've been on a bit of a journey of discovering myself and questioning my own ways. So yeah, like this is a win-win, truly. Thank you for watching.